Could you just talk to me?
Yeah, sure, with regards to...
Sorry, I'm just after that.
So where are you from, Vic?
Originally Epsom, Surrey, and moved down to Devon in '87. Right.
So Vic, how long have you been involved in scooters?
Since about 1972, 73.
And what started you initially?
First machine I ever rode, really.
But why did you buy scooters as opposed to a motorbike?
It was what was everybody had at the time, and it was a cool thing to have at the time, and all my mates had them, and naturally progressed on them.
What did you start off with?
An LI 150, just a standard LI 150. This machine was what I always wanted, and this was more of an impulse buy. At the time when I bought this, I wasn't actually looking for a Lambretta. I just popped down to a bike shop and saw this neglected heap sitting in the corner, which was this, and I paid £69 for it, and then got it home and started it all going again.
I mean, you've obviously adapted it.
Yeah, I bought some accessories over the years and that for it. I've had it 13 years now, but most of the accessories and that are on it, with exclusion, the pipe is the latest thing, the exhaust pipe. But the majority of the parts are as it was 13 odd years ago. Quite a long time, because obviously if you use them a lot, you've got to clean them a lot and polish them, and that's the only way to look after them. Wouldn't like to say hours-wise, but a long time.
Do you use it every day? Or?
No, not as a regular form of transport. It's been taxed and insured as far as I can remember since I've had it, so it's always been there to be used. Me and John Murch went out the other week on them and got a good soak in. But yeah, you know, it gets used as and when, really.
Do you have any other scooters?
Yeah, all in various shapes and forms, you know, in bits, in boxes, and yeah, I've got a couple of TV200s and a few other scooters floating around.
Are they like ongoing projects?
Some of them will be, yeah, some of them will be. All depends if I'm rich enough to actually get on and restore them.
Did you find parts easy to get hold of?
They used to be. The problem is now, of course, if you're looking for specific parts, you've got to pay the price. And there's a lot of dealers that take advantage of that. Having said that, you'd be surprised what does turn up, you know. So it all depends, you know, if you start looking around for stuff, how determined you are to find the bits you're looking for.
What do you think of
Yeah, it is, yeah. The Lambretta Club normally have a very good do, and you get a lot of auto jumbles there and a lot of rare parts turn up. But having said that, machines do turn up from time to time. People get to know you've got a Lambretta, and the chances are some old boy will approach you and say, oh, I've got one kicking around in my shed. There's still a lot of dealers around that are trading as just motorcycle dealers, but an awful lot of Lambretta stuff is still around.
In your area, you live where, in Devon?
In Devon, yeah. I live about 6 miles away from the museum. So there's probably quite a few Lambretta dealers around here. There's an awful lot of machines were manufactured, so there's probably still quite a few of them around that are just sitting in people's sheds and doing nothing. Oh God, about 4 years, I suppose. Well, basically, when Mike Karslake, the proprietor, when he passed away, Rachel was in a position, really, his wife, of not really knowing whether she was coming or going. So basically, I just went in there one day to pick some bits and pieces up for her. And some young lad in there had decided to ride a scooter through a muddy field and then ride it around the museum, and he fired mud and muck and rubbish all over the place. And he'd been taking parts off bikes and stripped gear off everything, and the place was a real state. And I think when Mike had passed away, Rachel hadn't been in the museum for a long time, so I just took it on myself to get a dustpan and brush and start cleaning up, and it all went on from there, really.
So you regularly look after it?
Yeah.
In your 13 years on
Well, for me personally, I don't think it's changed at all. The sort of love for the machines is still there. I feel sorry for younger people that are trying to get involved. They're constantly ripped off by insurance companies. And it's a real problem getting parts for the machines because you've got to pay the price. And they were never intended to be that expensive. You know, so... Well, unfortunately, I think anybody that rides an Italian scooter won't be converted by somebody riding an Indian scooter. Not everybody will agree with me on that, I know. It's just that a lot of the time the Indian parts don't have the same reputation as the Italian on the engine side of things. So, you know, he pays your money, he takes your choice. Oh yeah, undoubtedly, without the parts, even coming from India, I mean, a lot of the scooters wouldn't make it back on the road. Because some people just can't afford to spend that sort of money on getting a machine restored, especially if they're doing it themselves. No, I must admit I don't. Finance won't allow me to do that, so obviously I'll go to the local ones, and that's about it really. I'd like to do more, but as I say, finance is what stops me from doing that. Being a full-time pauper these days, I have to be content with just bombing around locally. No, me and a few friends are going to try and get something going on that because Mike seems to have established the Lambrettas in North Devon and really want to keep it that way. Really try and stamp our authority on it a bit now and keep that side of it alive down here. I think everybody is. I don't think anybody can honestly say what's going to happen to it at this particular moment in time. It's a shame it's going to be sold off, broken up or whatever. I think it's just a sad sign of the times today that we live in. I think if money wasn't the main object, it would still be there, really. I don't think the family want to break it up at all, to be honest with you. No problem. Cheers.
LD fans over here, like
So Barry, what's the scooter you're on at the moment?
It's a 1957 LD.
Is it the original?
It was restored by the Lambretta Club of Britain for a raffle at the European Jamboree last year. It was a kind of a Lambretta Club project bike which was featured in a magazine, the Jet Set and things like that. And a lot of the parts were donated by Lambretta Club's membership.
And how long have you been involved in Lambretta yourself?
Originally I had a few from when I was 16 till about 21, which was around about 1970 something. And then I've had about 3 or 4 in the last 3 years or so.
What initially started your interest in it?
The second time or the first time?
First time.
It was fashionable when I was 16. A couple of lads at the college I went to had some, so I had a go on one and thought, yeah, I like that. I was going to get a motorbike, but once you've tried one, you're hooked.
You've been with them ever since, or?
No. When I got married, I had to sell it, obviously, when the family came along. And then about 3 years ago, I was looking for some transport to get to work and back, cheap stuff. And I looked at the Japanese bikes. They were all expensive and technical and not very nice. And eventually I thought, I'll get a Lambretta. Don't mention that word around here. To be honest, I've got a Vespa, but you don't admit to these things.
But I mean, do you go to other rallies apart from just Lambretta one?
It's a bit difficult living in Jersey because it's very expensive getting over. But I've been to one of the nationals, but they're more younger people there. And this is the fourth Lambretta one I've been to. These are quite good. A good mix.
Is there quite a few in Jersey itself?
There's a lot of people use scooters just to get to work on, Vespas and things, but actual enthusiasts, there's only about 10 or 20 of us.
How about parts? Is there easy getting parts?
No, there's no shops in Jersey. There is no scooter shop. It's very difficult because you have to do all your own repairs, and also you have to order all your parts from England, so you've got to be on top of it all the time, really.
What have you seen in all the years you've been involved in scooters? How have the scooters seem changed? Obviously, less scooters around.
I think, I couldn't really tell you because it's more an English thing than a Jersey thing, but they seem to have gone through a phase of customising them, tuning them up to make them go faster, and now they seem to be, I think because of the recession, the trend seems to be putting them back to standard, because they're not as expensive to do and they tend to hold the value better. That's all right. Is that maybe watching?
So you're the one at home is golf.
What do you find is significant to today's event?
From my point of view, I just find that it's sad. But a lot of the Lambretta Club members have visited the museum year in, year out, and they hold fundraisings there, and they've done a lot of work on the place, and it holds such a lot of memories to some people. There was a couple of blokes I saw that were virtually ready to cry today. I've only been there a couple of times, so it doesn't mean that much to me, but I thought it was a wonderful place for Lambrettas, and for British Lambretta enthusiasts in particular. So hopefully somebody will buy it and open it up again somewhere.